All right, Alexander, we have got a situation going on in Europe. Let's see. We had Joseph Borrell, who stated a couple of days ago that all European citizens have to endure because this is kind of a game of chicken, is what Borrell was saying, and Putin is looking to sink the EU and the EU economies, and Europe must remain united, and they must endure even though the economic situation is going to be extremely difficult. You had Emmanuel Macron back from holiday on various mega yachts, and he spoke to his cabinet on Wednesday, I believe, and he said that for France it is the end of abundance. The end of abundance is here, and the people of France now need to make sacrifices. You had the Belgian Prime Minister, De Croo, who was even more blunt. He said that Europe will be in a difficult situation for 5 to 10 years. He put a timeline on it, 5 to 10 years. We're screwed as Europeans for 5 to 10 years. And you had the defense minister of Spain, who also said that Europe is going to be facing a very, very difficult situation, a difficult economic situation. And EU citizens need to prepare. You know, they're warning us now straight up. They're telling everybody in Europe, you're going to get a lot poorer, things are going to be terrible, life is going to get a lot worse. But no one ever pushes back and says, well, why are we doing this to ourselves? And I haven't even mentioned Germany, by the way, which is, okay, that's probably a whole nother video. But no one ever dares to question them and say, why is this happening to us? What solutions are you trying to come up with? Because to me, it feels like they're not very interested in finding real solutions. And they just are now telling everybody, you're going to get a lot poorer. Suck it up. That's the way it's going to be. 10 years, says the Prime Minister of Belgium. 10 years, Europe. Just accept it. What do you make of all these statements and the facts, the hard-hitting numbers and figures, which show an entire European Union just completely just going down the crapper? I mean, there's no other way to describe it. Even countries, by the way, I was reading an article from Bloomberg, even countries like Romania, Greece, and Bulgaria, which are considered net exporters of electricity because of the EU, the way the EU works as a collective, and they try to spread out the costs. Even Romania, Greece, and Bulgaria are paying more in their electricity than they ever have, like ever. We're talking like 600-700 euros a megawatt hour. I mean, just crazy numbers as compared to
Crazy.
75, when it's 50, euros per megawatt hours, a year ago.
Absolutely.
This is madness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is madness. And can I just say, I mean, in Britain, which of course is no longer, in theory, part of the EU, but which is still part of the European economic world, fuel prices in Britain are going to rise apparently by 80% in October. This comes on top of a 57% increase on fuel prices in April. So, we're seeing huge increases in costs. We're seeing rises in mortgage rates. We're seeing, apparently, Europe is already in recession. I mean, this is now overwhelmingly accepted. And, thanks to the Belgian Prime Minister, we now know that this is going to continue for 5 to 10 years, by which point one wonders what of Europe will be left. Now, you're absolutely correct. I mean, this is a failure of economic and political leadership that it just beggars belief. But how did we get here? We got here because all those people in that rush of enthusiasm, and I'm sure you remember the intoxication of the hour back in February and March, was slapping sanctions after sanctions after sanctions on the Russians. They imagined that the Russian economy would implode, 200 rubles to the dollar, in a few weeks, hyperinflation taking off there, political crisis in Moscow, Putin will fall. And of course, none of that has happened. Prices there are falling, production is rising, living standards are actually starting to grow. But unlike in Europe, where they're actually falling. So, but though the policy has visibly and completely failed, we must persist with it. We can't turn round. We can't change course. We must go on for 5 years, 10 years. Why do we think things will be better in 10 years' time? What is going to happen within the next 10 years that will change things? I mean, are we going to get hydrogen? Are we going to get the nuclear power? Are we going to get more windmills? Is that what's going to change the situation? Where is the plan? There isn't one. We're just talking about the importance of holding on, holding tight. Ukraine's going to go, it's going to be defeated. But Europe must persist with a policy which is apparently, going to end in economic disaster, as even Europe's own leaders now acknowledge. But we can't change course. We mustn't change course. Changing course would be to capitulate to the evil Putin, and that we must never do.
Well, what happens then, Alex? That's a serious question. What happens? Because look, real quick, let's take Germany for example. They got snubbed by Qatar. They got snubbed by Canada and Trudeau. I mean, Trudeau basically told Schultz, "We don't have anything for you." From what I understand, the U.S. is not delivering on their LNG promise, nor will they. I mean, they've knocked on a couple of doors, though I don't think they've done it with conviction or in a smart way. They're just kind of, Habeck's kind of gone along and he's lied about it. He's made up stories about how he's found this solution and that solution. And van der Leyen made up stories about how the U.S. is going to fill the gap. They've lied. There's no other way to categorize it. Both Habeck and van der Leyen, 3-4 months ago, I remember them. U.S. LNG is going to replace Russian gas, and Qatari LNG is going to replace Russian gas. Saudi Arabia has snubbed them. Everyone has snubbed them with regards to their energy needs. It seems like the plan now is just tell our citizens that they're going to have a crappy life for the next 10 years, and they're going to get a hell of a lot poorer, no hot showers, no street lights at night, incredible electricity bills, all these things. And that's our plan. Just let them know that their life's going to be awful and try to prevent protests. I think that's probably their overarching strategy now. How do we try to prevent people from getting onto the streets? I don't know. Where does this end? Where does this go?
I entirely agree.
I don't see anything. I don't see anything.
No, I agree with that. I think this is the whole thing now. I mean, I don't see any sign of the political class changing course. I mean, when did they ever do so? When has the European political class ever bent to economic realities? They've never done it. They always double down, and they also double down through more political controls. And I think that's what they're going to do. And of course, there are going to be some people, there are going to be a lot of people, inevitably, who are going to say that this was the plan all along, that the real intention was always to smash the European economy in order to proceed with the Great Reset plan, and who knows, there might even be some truth to that. But one way or the other, there's no sign of any willingness to change course. Germany's industrial export machine is, in my opinion, doomed. And the only answer to this, as you absolutely rightly said, is more repression, stronger riot police, more riot police probably, more control on information, more doubling down on controls of media, all that kind of thing. You'll get dissidents, from time to time. You people like Salvini. Salvini's now come out and said, well, are these sanctions against Russia such a good idea? You see Hungary in open rebellion about this. But, the mood will not be to listen to these people. It will be to knock them down.
Well, what
How does it end? Yeah.
I mean, I'm just... Where does this take us, though? That's the part that I'm always thinking about. I mean, somewhere you're going to get a smash. Somewhere
there's going to be a smash. But I mean, we've talked about this many times. I mean, to be very clear, there's going to be a smash. There would be a smash anyway, regardless of this latest policy. Because remember, this latest folly, this economic war against Russia, which has been so misconceived and so disastrous in its consequences, has come on top of one bad economic policy after another. And we've done program after program talking about this, about how everything that the European Union has been doing for the last 20 years has in effect undermined the vitality of Europe's economy, of Europe's society. And we've often said that sooner or later, and eventually, it will result in a smash. We've even talked about an implosion, a systems collapse. And I think that these policies, this latest economic war, probably hastens the day when that will come. I mean, it's going to make it come sooner than it would otherwise have done. But that seems to me to be the only way out now. I mean, sooner or later, there will have to be some kind of massive breakdown of the economic system. And unless that happens, unless we have that kind of crisis, we're not going to see any change of course, because all political alternatives have been closed down.
What is a breakdown? The final question is, what does a breakdown of Germany look like?
Right, okay.
Which
So
seems to be coming very, very soon.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
I don't know. Every day you're getting terrible news about Germany and the UK for that matter. So what does a breakdown look like?
Well, what it begins to look like is you start to see, first of all, the major industrial groups, the Siemens, the Daimlers, those sort of things, finding it impossible to sustain their economic presence in Germany. Some of them might try and leave and relocate elsewhere, but that's going to be very, very bad for Germany. You start to see a deindustrialization process start to take hold. That, in turn, will put pressure on German living standards as people's living standards fall, as people are laid off, as factories close. You start to see pressure on the German banking system. You start to see movements to try and financialize the German economy. You see Germany moving into trade deficits, structural trade deficits, and eventually a collapse in German credit, which, to be very clear, is the credit that's held the whole euro system together. So that's a contagion. That's the process that you will start to see work its way through.
In the UK, real quick, and we'll end the video.
Well, the UK is going to go there even faster because that's the other tragedy of this affair, which is that this crisis has basically thrown away whatever possibilities Brexit might have once offered, because where Britain, in theory, was well positioned to take advantage of the opportunities that Brexit provided, it can't do so with energy costs like the ones it's now taking on.
All right, the Duran.locals.com and the Duran shop, 10% off. Use the code. Good day. Take care.